So some folks have been asking me a little bit about how I'm holding my mind these days. I talked last week about feeling pulled in different directions of how do I stay informed and not become obsessive? How do I stay connected to all of the very strong feelings that I'm having right now and at the same time not make myself sick? And how do I remain optimistic, although perhaps a better word is hopeful? How do I remain hopeful without becoming delusional? And I'm realizing that there's a couple of things that are really helping me right now. One is definitely my meditation practice and kind of doing whatever I needed to do to feel more solid in that practice. And as a result of that, I feel very aware of impermanence and the passage of time and how everything moves through. And in working with impermanence, the need to have patience. And when I say patience, I don't mean inaction. I mean listening and trying my best to be skillful in how I respond. And so in working with impermanence and patience, I think the thing that I'm noticing the most is how what's going on in the world is affecting the way I relate to other people. And that goes from my closest relationships to talking to the customer service agent on the phone, or the cashier at the supermarket, or the person in front of me or behind me on the road driving. And it's really helping me to kind of understand myself a little bit better right now. I can definitely see how the stress of what's going on in the world is affecting how I relate, how I communicate, how I treat other people. And what I'm really kind of focusing my attention on is trying to bring attention and compassion and softness to how I'm relating to other people. And so I notice myself tightening up sometimes, which is normal. I'm not going to feel badly about that. And when I'm able to, I can notice it and soften, like physically just unclench my jaw, let my shoulders relax down my back. Literally an hour ago, I was driving to pick up my child at school, and somebody did something just perfectly idiotic on the road. And what I noticed was it really struck a nerve with me because of how inconsiderate of others it was. And so there was something in me that felt justified in judging that person for being inconsiderate. And I almost actually went up to that person in the parking lot and said something about how idiotic their driving was. But then I heard this little voice in my head, kind of like, you know, when you push the pedestrian walkway sign, the crossing signal thing, and it says, wait, wait, wait. So I might have given them the hairy eyeball, but I did not actually say anything because I realize the power in just refraining and holding my tongue before I say something I can't take back. It's just helping me to see what is so upsetting to me about what's going on in the world. And a lot of that has to do with the lack of consideration for other people, just the lack of empathy, the lack of a willingness to understand what it's like to be somebody else that has a different experience than you. And so at the same time realizing that it's not helping anyone to judge anybody and then to shame them for how they're behaving. And so I'm really just working with that in between place of feeling all the feels, waiting before I react, and seeing what happens as a result. As I mentioned, patience is not inaction. I'm in the meanwhile researching, information about civil disobedience and how to organize in the community, how to practice communal care, I'm talking to my neighborhood about maybe building a tiny free library in the neighborhood. And so doing some things closer to me to build relationships, to strengthen a sense of connection and interdependence. So I just wanted to share that. I mean, the other thing that I'm noticing myself leaning into, and it's very timely that the spring is finally coming around the corner, is really leaning into nature, leaning into art. I've been reading a lot. I've been looking at a lot of beautiful artwork through people I follow on social media. I'm doing some of my own creating in the sense of writing. And I just see such an important role for art in times like this. I mean, this is what's gotten us through. So I hope that is helpful to those of you who have reached out to ask for how I'm handling this time. And I would love to hear your thoughts and what's getting you through this time, what's helping you feel supported and able to navigate the ups and downs of, what's a really tumultuous period in history. So I will see you next week.